Welcome to episode 23 of We Have Issues. I'm Anthony.
I'm Stevie Wildcard.
Every week, Stevie Wildcard and I get together and do our best to bicycle kick the badness out of our lives. Yeah, exactly. And we make something amazing. Most recently, it's been a semi-autobiographical time travel graphic novel musical, which we finished writing, and now we are headlong into getting the art done. I think we're making a lot of progress. How'd you do this week?
I did really good this week. I got, let's see, page 8 was last week. So this week I have 9, 10 completely penciled. And
what do they look like?
Oh, they're right here. The Shang Tsung summon. But yes, 9 and 10 are right here. Wait, hold on. Right here. And then,
you know what that reminds me of? We try to keep it super PG in our podcast, but there was a time where all of our friends went to Hooters, and I had only been to Hooters like once in my life up until that point. So me, super awkward, like high school aged kid. We go to Hooters, and there's this attractive server, and she's asking what I'd like, and I'm just I just remember very specifically being like, I just want to order fries. I just want fries, and she's like. So, and I remember we're all sitting there, and she was like, "Do you want do you want the half order or the full order?" And I literally did this as a child. How big are they?
as innocent as Anthony really is too, just completely innocent.
The dumbest innocent, no pun, no double entendre intended. Totally, my hands are doing this as there's a woman, I don't know how old, when you're young and everyone seems old and cool, that's how it seemed. She seemed oh my gosh, this older attractive woman, and she's leaning over, and how big are they to her? And
dude, that makes me think of my dad though. So my dad, when he would go through McDonald's drive-through to get a sundae,
okay,
he was he wanted nuts. He legit goes to the guy. He goes, in my dad's head, I'm imagining he has to be thinking okay, I need to do some sort of hand gesture to make this guy realize that I'm not asking for testicles. No, sir, I'm asking for a bag of chopped peanuts. So my dad, in all of his wisdom and glory, musters up this hand formation. He goes, "Can I get some nuts?" What is that? What is that? Why is this? Why is this nuts?
I can't stop. Every time I do that. Oh, hang on. Okay, I had to cut something out about your dad last week. I'm not cutting this, Steven.
Oh no, you can leave this one in.
Your dad's nuts are staying in the podcast.
Where they belong.
Oh, anyway, I'm sorry. So anyway, so you got some pages done.
Basically. I got half of the blues done for page 11 too. So yeah, by the way, I just want to talk about my new process is to not play video games in the morning before work.
Awesome.
When I'm half awake zombie, what I do now is I wake up, get my coffee brewing, and I just start drawing. And dude, it's an additional 8 to 10 hours a week I'm getting on drawing.
It really is important. I myself have been thinking about adopting an early morning thing, because my only time to really do anything is either when Atlas goes with his mom once every other week for a day or so, and then at night when he's sleeping. But that's also when obviously I was just working, or we spent the whole day playing, and I'm exhausted. I can't do that, Mm-hmm. So I find it within myself to get the stuff done as much as I can. But it's hard. It would be much easier. You're saying, it's great to have that chunk just carved out in the day.
And your tank is full for me anyway. My tank is full first thing in the morning, and it made my days better too. Going to work and stuff, I was more fulfilled. I went to work already feeling great because I got a page done. Or
of course,
I was averaging basically 2 or 3 panels a morning, or a panel or 2 a morning, which is. Progress is progress, and that's what I have to remember. I don't need to set aside 4 or 5 hours one day to really make progress.
For sure.
Just set aside an hour or 2 each day and just work away at it.
Oh yeah, chipping away at it is so important. Celebrating those small victories is also super important. Speaking of which, I'm almost finished with the page I started coloring. I started just working through a new process I'm trying to do. I just figured out a kind of easier way to color the flats. So I'll show my progress here. This is what I've done so far. I think it's looking okay. I also wrote the first draft of the first song, and I think
awesome.
I think it's really good. I think it's going to be really good because, I did the thing where it's about two things at once. Like it's the song that the character is singing to his son, but it's also about the relationship and more about what might happen. There's some foreshadowing in there, and it's fun. I like it so far.
I like that. So almost like for me, like one of my favorite, I've mentioned it before in the podcast too. One of my favorite things about the Deer Hunter is the first song of each album, or at least after the first album. It's almost like these like the Greek, like is it Ouroboros? Is that what they're called, or like the
No, that's the snake that eats its own tail.
Okay, well then they're called the Ouroboros and Deer Hunter, but like basically like think Hercules, the music on the vase, like how they sing like the what's going to happen in the story, what's happening. At the beginning of each album, they have that like Act 3 especially, like it just like this like chorus of voices is just singing what's coming for the boy in this album, in this act. And it's cool to do that. Like it's very musical, basically. It's very like a musical formation, and that's what makes it fun and awesome.
Oh yeah, I love that stuff. And then and of course it'll come back at the end when he's waking up, and so and we'll hint at things along the way. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. I kind of have the melody down. I'm still working through a couple of, I don't know, like when like you're working on the rhyme scheme and you want it to be right but not like cheesy, like I don't want it to feel like Seussian, and like but it does have to be like a kind of simplistic, traditional feeling lullaby, even though it's a little, it's us doing it, but yeah, I got that done. I got that page done, or like mostly done, and I feel pretty good. And I had a really good week otherwise.
Nice.
Did you have a good week?
Oh yeah, I had a pretty solid week. Good week.
Your hair looks beautiful, by the way.
And it isn't washed, so it hasn't been washed.
It's just more steamy.
Well, it depends. Sometimes when I wash it, it looks prettier because it'll wave out on the ends. But...
It's just natural. I like that. I'm jealous. I don't get any of that nonsense. If I don't wash my hair, it's just literally grease. Like it's just, I look like Danny Zuko. Like it's just like, bleh, like it's.
My hair gets really like, my hair gets like dry. So it's like, I have like the opposite problem. So I have to like condition and stuff. But
we need to just sleep head to head. And just
for the appropriate amount of grease.
Yeah, that's it. Like we'll just siphon one another, and then we'll wake up with perfect hair, Steven. I don't know why we wouldn't.
And slightly smelling like each other, which
that's true. Which is
maybe better. Who knows?
Been the goal. It's been the goal since day one. I mean,
we can trick people with our mix of pheromones. They won't know. They're like,
oh, I like that.
Genetically speaking, he sounds pretty great. My pheromones are in agreement.
I like it. I think that's the true Tony Banana Hands that we've been working on since our youth. It's pretty good. So I have an update from last week. Last week I talked about a misconnection with someone, in which a person came in my work and has come into my work several times and spoke to me, and I was kind of building a deep-seated, rooted curiosity about the person. I was totally into her, and I didn't get her number. I was a little upset, obviously. I didn't expect to see her for a long time. However, I was at my work outside getting carts, and suddenly someone said, "Hi, Anthony." And I turned around, and there she was. And I almost saw her face for a second.
Without a mask or with a mask? Outside.
This is the thing. I was going to say, I almost saw her face for a second, but she had these giant glasses on, and she was just putting her mask on. So as I turned, I almost saw it, and I was like, no, I still don't know what you look like. What is happening with the world, So I was like, okay, I'm rolling these dice. Like, I'm not doing this again. I was like, I will not fail this time. So because she's talking to me. She was excited to see me. It seemed like she was excited to see me. I think I was right. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm making all this up. Maybe she doesn't exist. Maybe she's like Tyler Durden. She does seem kind of magical. It's weird. Anyway, so I stopped. I was crowding carts. I had one cart. I knew there were like 3 behind me, but I was like, I'm not going to not walk in with this person. Like, I'm just going to talk to her. So I started just pushing my one cart in, and I talked to her, and we just kept talking. So we walked through the store. I just kept talking about things. She asked me how I was, right? And I was fresh off the heels of learning about ChicagoTonyV's podcast about us. Not just learning about it, but I had just listened to it, and that was a big moment for us. I think we both really enjoyed that, and we appreciate it because not only it doesn't show that someone listens to our podcast, but really listens to it and enjoys it and appreciates like who we are. And it doesn't feel like someone just going through the motions who does it out of like obligation, you know, like, you know how like you feel like your parents think that your art is good because they have to, you know, so it doesn't feel the same way as hearing someone else say it who has nothing to gain or lose from saying that you suck, you know, or that you're great, you know. So anyway, so like I was kind of riding that high of like, I don't think it's validation. I just think it's like that joy of feeling that connection with someone else, you know, where I was just like, wow, this is really cool, you know. So anyway, she asked me how I was, and that was what came out. I was like, I had a great day. I was like, I'm thinking about this, and like I have this podcast and I did this. So she started asking me about the podcast, and she asked if she could listen to it, and my immediate response was, yeah. So
absolutely you can.
Absolutely you can. So I was like, yeah, I would love it if you listen to it, because we need more subscribers and it's always fun, and like I'd love to have. And then as I said it, the little like, you know, the mini Anthony that's working all the gadgets in my brain was just like, abort mission, abort this. She's gonna see it, and you can't lie. You can't take it back. You can't delete that episode. You can't just like. So I was just like, well, I'm all in now. I already said it. I already told her at the podcast. I'm right here. I have to now, like...
Our boy hasn't even seen the flop or the river. Or the I might have said that wrong, people that play Texas Hold'em, but he hasn't seen the river, and he went all in. Okay, everybody?
I did. I didn't...
If you don't edit out that bad, horrible Texas Hold'em reference. The flop or the river. The flop or the river. The flop or the river. I have a feeling you're just going to definitely leave it in now. Continue.
So now that I had Steven talk about Texas Hold'em for 3 full minutes.
The flop or the river.
It was 3 minutes just inner circle going flop. No, river, flop, river. No.
Wait, hold on. It's the... What's the fourth card that's revealed? The flop or the river. I'm sorry.
My parents.
The river's the fifth card.
Okay, so I was like, I'm all in. All right, like I basically, I can't let her discover that I was thinking about that and then hope she contacts me. That seems weird and unfair. So I was like, oh, okay, what am I gonna do? Am I ask for a number? You know, blah blah blah. So we're talking, and she started talking about art, as she, you know, often does, because she creates all this really interesting, amazing stuff. So I asked if, you know, if she has an Instagram, and she asked about mine, and we're, you know, so we traded Instagrams, and I was like, that's it, right? Like, so now I can message this person. And I told you, I said that when we were in there. I also told her, so I was like, I'm all in on this. I already made the decision to tell this person about the podcast, and what, you know, forgot that I mentioned her on it. So then I was like, oh, by the way, just so you know, I mentioned you in the last podcast. So I you know, I told her,
go get her, son.
Yeah. And so I told her about it. So she eventually, so we talked for a while, a long while. If you're someone who's watching what I'm doing while I'm on the clock, I got all my work done. I did everything I was supposed to do. I helped other customers and such. However, I talked to this person. I think this should be socially acceptable. I think we should have like a little card or something. And it's like, look, I don't know where this is going. It might be a courtship situation. If it is, isn't that what we kind of want? I don't know. Or like, shouldn't we at least try to facilitate some kind of joy? Please help. Anyway, so I talked to her. Eventually she left, and I was like, okay, like I'll probably stalk your Instagram and message you. And she was like, laughed and was, you know, kind of like going along with it, and just like, I hope you do, you know, she said. And so she left, and I just immediately stalked her Instagram. I was like, I'm gonna look at all these pictures and see. There are no pictures of her face, Steven. There are no pictures of her. Steven? So here's this person whom I've had several conversations with, whom I like, even if it wasn't a romantic thing, I know I really think she's cool as a person. I'm just like, I like this person. I'd like to keep talking. Like it seems, because when you're at work, when you work like retail or something, everything feels very like formulaic or like mechanistic. Like you feel like a robot sometimes. You know, like you have to say certain things in certain ways in order for people to understand what you're trying to say. You know, or just like, may I help you find anything today? Yes, and how are you? Okay, you know. So it's like we all have that like silly dialogue. It didn't feel that way with her, like from day one. Like it's always been like an actual conversation. So anyway, so I look at her Instagram, She doesn't have any pictures of her. I don't know what this person looks like. I know she's interesting. I know that I'm interested, and I'm kind of feeling like this connection with her. I don't know if she is. I truly don't. Seems like she's at least interested enough to like share Instagrams, right? So I was like, I'm gonna message her. So I messaged her, and I basically was just like, I really enjoyed talking to you, and I hope I would like to at some point talk to you outside of my work.
Nice.
And because there is that social stress of having to help other people and focus on other things. When you're talking with someone, you want to be able to focus on them as much as possible. So anyway, she agreed and was like, was interested. So we talked for a while. We messaged one another and stuff, back and forth. And then I asked if she wanted to meet somewhere, sometime soon, and she agreed. So last night we met at a diner. We hung out for several hours and we just talked, and I got to see her face, and she's so cute. She's like ridiculously cute. I didn't expect that at all. It shouldn't matter. It does matter. Attraction's weird. I don't know. I can't explain it. I wish I could. I wish I could not only explain it, but like flip a switch to like choose what I'm attracted to. However, I don't have to. Super, like, she's so cute. She's so cute. So we hung out, we talked, and it was great. It was amazing. Like we drew, like we sat in the diner, and you ever do that game where you fold the paper in threes? And someone draws on the top and you leave a little to the next level and then you leave a little. We did 2 of those and they both looked amazing.
You and I have actually, I think, done that.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure we did. Yeah. Dude, I love that game. I love doing that so much. And she came up with the idea to draw together. She brought her like journal that she bound. She is very much, even if it's not a romantic thing, she is very much a weird unicorn person who makes these amazing things, like unimaginably cool things. And when you see them in person, you're like, how are you a real person? You know what's weird though, Steven? You know what drives me crazy? Okay.
You know what drives me up a wall?
You know what drives me? You know what really grinds all my gears, Steven?
You know what makes me want to kick rocks? The flop or the river?
You know what makes me want to kick rocks, Steven? We talked about dating, right? We talked about dating apps. Apparently, she's been on OkCupid and other, she's used dating apps, and she's been on the OkCupid app for several years. She's had a profile. She's been on there for several years. I've used OkCupid, and I've never once seen her. She only lives a few miles from me.
What's going on, OkCupid?
Okay, I don't know about this algorithm. I don't know what's going on, but I do know that in real life, I had an actual interaction with someone who I actually am attracted to, and I have a lot in common with, and I totally connected with, who is also on a dating app that I have used several times over the past few years, and I've never seen her on that dating app. How is that possible, OkCupid? Now, here's the thing. My theory is that I died, and now I'm in a different reality, Steven. And she's been in this reality on OkCupid, but I wasn't, and now I am here. But
I am just your Ted Danson, dude. That's who I am. I'm just coaching you through this, trying to keep you. I've never watched The Good Place. I'm just trying to pretend like I know what happens. I kind of know what happens. Tina loves it. Tina loves it. So I do know a little bit about The Good Place.
No spoilers. It's so good, though.
I do know that. Yeah, I do know who he is, and but anyways.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, OkCupid. More like No Way Cupid. More like Go Kick Rocks Cupid. More like gonna make it happen.
More like
listen. I made Stevie Wildside happen. I can make anything happen.
Wait, Stevie Wildside?
Oh crap!
Yes, I just Anthony LaFusi, your own nickname. Did you? You did that. You did that when we were deaf. When we were doing.
Yeah, I said Wildside. I really want Wildside now.
I think that Stevie Wildside is in you somewhere, and it's coming out.
By the end of this podcast, I'm just gonna have like 5 or 6 different personalities, just, all with the word "wild" in front of them.
Wild Child, Stevie Wildchild. Oh my god. Okay, Steven. So the thing that we have to announce now. The results of our poll, Steven. Drum roll. Drum roll is weird.
I'm a guitar player, okay? Continue.
So, Deathless is going to be our next comic book.
Deathless.
doesn't work as well as Masks.
Mask is much better with that one, yeah, for sure.
So, Deathless. So, thank you all for voting. We appreciate all of you for participating in this very awkward assignment that we gave you. We got a lot of votes on Twitter. We got a decent amount of votes on Facebook. Not as many as I would have liked, but most of the people responded on Twitter, and I was really thankful for that. Deathless seemed to win staggeringly. I don't know. Like it was a pretty hefty lead, which I don't know why. I don't really understand. I do think that. Okay, I'll say this. I think we're definitely going to get to every single one of those ideas. I think that we're probably closest to doing Come What May, just because we both feel that convenience aspect of at least the first issue. Like, we both kind of want that thing to exist, and it's already there, like, to some degree. You know, I know we're gonna do Masks, of course. That's like your passion project, so we're going to do that. I think that Deathless is just going to be a 6 to 8 issue book. We're going to get it done, and then we're going to probably move on to Masks. That's what I think. Like, I think our process by then will be pretty solid. I hopefully it'll just continue to grow forever, you know, but I think it'll be pretty solid. I think it's already evolving and maturing to such an extent that, like, I'm surprised by how much we finished, honestly. I don't remember, although I wrote the thing, I don't remember how many pages are in each chapter, but I do think have you finished the first chapter, page-wise?
I think I'm on, like, because the page I'm on right now is when they're dancing, so he gets sucked back into the tube, and then, so that is the end of that chapter.
So that's the end of the chapter, and, like, my plan in the future is going to be to flat, and then once I catch up to a chapter, I'm going to start lettering. And that way we can read our book, you know, and we can start showing people, you know, the finished pages. How do you feel if I flat everything and work on the songs, do you think later you could go back and do the whites?
Oh yeah, and I can do, like, I can do the glows and stuff like that too, because it'll be easier since I already have the intention. I already know what lines I want to be glow lines and things like that. So yeah, I can go back and do that. By the way, page 10, I know I told you, but I want to let the podcast know. Page 10, I was drawing early in the morning, and I don't know if anyone else, because I'm old school, so I use pencil, ruler, all that stuff. And sometimes your ruler will catch, like, lead or something like that, and it'll smear. Even though there's nothing to smear, it'll smear something onto the page. And I was using the ruler, and these orange dots, this, like, orangish red dots kept appearing on the page, and I was like, what the heck? And then, like, I found, like, a little Dorito from, like, one of my kids. I'm like, oh, it has to be this Dorito. So then I start using the ruler again, and I'm, like, dabbing the heck out of your character's face on this page with red. And I'm like, what's going? And then I looked down at my finger, and I forgot I had gashed my finger, and it was just the blood was coming through the bandage from the night before. So
blood, sweat, and tears, Stephen.
Blood, sweat, and tears are
your
on
blood
page
and
10.
Sweat, my tears. Everything's going into this project so much so that, Stephen, I'm pretty sure it's going to come to life, and we're going to have to kill it. I think we're going to have to strangle, like, the 2D version of me, and that's just all there is to it.
And dude, I'm really hoping that we get a Little Shop of Horrors element with the vinyl record player in real life, and we can fight it. Like,
oh yes,
Anthony.
Would it be play me? Does it have to be sad? Play me. Does it have to be my memories?
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, I'm in. I think we should believe more on stuff. Okay. We had one question from a listener, Michelle, which doesn't really have anything to do with what we're currently working on, but she was curious as to, like, what we had to say about the thing. So she's getting into screenwriting, and she wanted to know, because we've made short films, like short, videos and stuff, and we've worked from scripts before, and she wanted to know what we knew about screenwriting and that sort of thing, which is funny and not that much, although. I'll get to that in a second. Okay, so I initially began writing stuff. I mean, I wrote little stories and stuff as a kid, and I would write, like, silly things, like improvised things. But I never really formally wrote anything until we started improvising. And then we wanted to give people lines because they couldn't, some of the people weren't able to improvise. And we wanted the story to go certain places, so I started writing. And at first, it was it was not formatted whatsoever. It was just like it was me guessing how a movie script looks, which I'm sure everyone does that before they actually read the script. So what I would suggest is basically what I did is I started going online and I went to I don't know if it's still a thing. I'm sure I know there is a subreddit for screenwriting where they just release all of these awesome screenplays, so you can just find them everywhere. But there was a site called Drew Scriptorama, which was really helpful, and it had basically scripts for everything that I'd ever want to watch or read. So I started looking at them and learning how to format things. Recently, I bought this. It's the screenplay to Scare Me by Josh Rubin. Nice. It's a movie that's on Shudder. It's a really good movie. It's been getting a lot of like really good press and good reviews and stuff. Josh Rubin's a really cool, really nice guy in general. Like he's one of those guys you just want to support, and but he's also just a great filmmaker and he's a good writer. He's selling the scripts through his PayPal. You can find him on Twitter. I'll put his handle below in the link so you can click on it. He's selling the scripts and he leaves like little note, like he put a little note in there, just like he was nice. There's a Gremlins trading card in there. Nice. All kinds of like just cool little stuff, and I make no promises. I don't know if he does that for everyone or if he secretly loves me. We have no relationship except for me longing from a distance, as I do. But anyway, I would suggest just picking up a script like that or a script that's something that you're familiar with to see how the formatting works. But once you get something formatted, it's very similar to writing most other things, with the exception of that's like there's a lot of show don't tell in scripts. Like you don't really talk about the emotion that people are feeling. You talk about how they're expressing that emotion. Of course, like everything else, rules are meant to be broken and like bent. So you just write a script however you can, and send it to me and let me read it, and I'll tell you how great it is. Because I'm bad at giving bad criticism. I don't know. But I did want to say, I'll send you scripts that I've written if you want to see them. I wrote The Roommate from Hell pilot, and I wanted to actually bring that up to you at some point.
We can do that. We should start filming little segments for that for the podcast.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to ask you how you would feel about doing like a read. Like remember when we all got together in my apartment, we read the first version of it. I thought it was so much fun. So I thought like if we can get on Zoom and just get a couple of we only need, I think it's a total of 5 people in the whole script. And we're 2 of them, so we really only need a few more. If we have to double up parts, we could easily do that. It's not a big deal. But I thought it'd be really cool to just like separately release, like just throw that out there for people. Because I think it's a really fun script. And I'm like, until we actually have an ostrich colony and have a lot of money coming in, I'm not going to be able to film or animate. I prefer to animate it, but I'm not going to be able to make that or do anything with it aside from just read it with you. So I'd love that. But anyway, Michelle, so basically I would say study the formatting, listen to podcasts like Script Notes. It's the John August, Craig Mazin podcast. It's really good. There was also a screenwriting podcast on Nerdist. It's like the Nerdist podcast channel has this awesome screenwriting. It's like the back catalog is ridiculous. You just go through and just cherry pick based on like your favorite writers. Also the Q&A podcast with Jeff Goldsmith, fantastic. I'd listen to that. It's also on YouTube, but it's weird. Steven, I noticed there are podcasts that are like, you ever notice how an audience exists in a bubble for certain people in certain places, but not other places? Isn't that weird? It's kind of like us, like with our poll, how we got a lot of responses on Twitter, but we got like maybe 20 responses on Facebook. We have over 200 people in our Facebook group at facebook.com/group/we have issues podcast, but only like 20 people responded to the poll. Whereas on Twitter, we don't even have that many followers on our official podcast Twitter, but so many people responded to I don't know. I don't get how it works. Anyway, Jeff Goldsmith doesn't have a huge following on Twitter, but he has like a really popular podcast. It's weird. It's crazy. It's crazy. But anyway, I would say like listen to some of those podcasts, learn about the formatting, read scripts and screenplays that you really like, and then look into it depends on what you want to do. Like if you're looking to make something of your own, honestly, I don't know if that's what you're going to do because I haven't talked about your intention, but I think the greatest thing that a screenwriter can do if they're like starting off, especially, I think that what you should consider, at least, just consider it for a second, is make a list of objective things that you have access to like make a list of all of the sets, like all of the actual locations. If your mom has a balcony with some like weird leaves on it and stuff, right? Like mom's balcony. If like, you know, if your best friend lives next to a park and you're like, no one's ever at that park, write that park down. You know, like write all of the sets, all the locations, all the people that you know you can count on, all of the like fun tricks, anything you can think of, just write it down. And that's just an inventory of all of the possible things that you can just drop into your story, right? So then you just formulate your story using the things that you know you already have access to, and then you're already 100% more likely to do something. That's it. Because
very much like Kevin Smith with Clerks, like
yes,
what he had access to was the convenience store, absolutely, the video store, and Friends, basically.
Yep. I always think of it like absolutely. That's like spot on. I always think of it as Kevin Smith and Robert Rodriguez, who like also pick up this book. It's super awesome. I just happen to know where all my books are. That's how I could just turn around and grab this thing. But like this is Rebel Without a Crew. It's the Robert Rodriguez story about when he wrote and filmed El Mariachi and how he did it. The story itself is awesome. Just how he did it. It's really like inspirational. It makes you want to make things. It's also how I thought to ever do that, where it's just like very objective and thinking about what you have access to rather than like flights of fancy and imagining like, you know, because it's perfectly fine to write anything you want. Of course, if you want to write like a space opera, do it. Freaking do it and do whatever you can with it. It doesn't matter. I'm not here to tell you not to do that. Do it. But if you want to actually film something yourself, it's better. It's probably best to start off with what you know and what you have, just because you don't want to get discouraged when no one wants to read your 700-page, you know, space opera script. Just that's it. Just about the like discouragement. However, write whatever you want. There are a lot of cool resources out there, like the Blacklist and like these different resources where you can have readers actually look at your script and review it. I know that sometimes they get really backed up with scripts and it takes a while, and I don't know how much you can count on those readers, but there's also a really cool community on Twitter of writers who I'm sure, even if they're not so familiar with scripts, would be able to help you with like story stuff and if anything makes sense or if the dialogue comes across as weird. So I don't know, I'm here, you know, I don't have a lot of time, but I'll try to read stuff if people send it to me. But that's what I would suggest. I would suggest, you know, depending on what your intention is. But first and foremost, learning about the formatting, reading scripts that you really love and finding out what it is about the script that translated well to film and trying to see how you can, you know, use that yourself. That's all. And then, of course, like anything else, you know, you'll evolve from there and probably do something better than what you learned, you know? So I hope that answered your question, Michelle. Everyone else, feel free to ask us questions. Even if we only have like this much knowledge about it, we'll try, you know, we'll do our best and we're here for you. It's best to have a community. We're not going to talk about it this week, but soon I want to start talking about our Kickstarter because we're going to have a Kickstarter. So this coming week, my plan is to start planning all of the different reward packages for Kickstarter and what we can possibly do for this book. I'm looking forward to it. I'm kind of nervous about it. I'm not sure. I know our plan is to print out a decent amount so we can pass them around to local comic shops, so we can go to once they open up, so we can go to different cons, so we can do these things. And we just want some basic inventory so we can start basically kickstart our comic book careers. That's what we're trying to do. It's not about just selling a book, but having like this little like nest egg of our book, right? So then we have something to show people. So I'm looking forward to doing that. That's my plan for this week. Is I'm going to start thinking about the Kickstarter, writing stuff down, and I'm also going to finish coloring at least 2 pages. I'm going to try to finish coloring 3 pages. I'm going to finish 2 and I'm going to do the Kickstarter stuff. What's your plan?
I'm going to try to I think I'm going to go back to what I was going for at the beginning of the year. I'm going to start aiming for 2 or 3 pages a week now with my new schedule. So I'm going to aim for, I think I'm going to get 3 more pages done next week is my goal.
Oh, that's going to be, dude, it's going to be so good. Yeah, I'm super excited. I can't wait for this book. I think it's coming together really well. It's looking great. I feel really comfortable with, you know, how the script came together and everything. I think it's gonna look good and be perfect, like all together. I can't wait to have it printed. It's gonna be so neat.
I love it.
And I'm really excited to move on to the next project too. Just like emotionally, I'm done. I'm ready, Steven. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. If you're only listening to this on one of the various podcasting apps, we do have video every week at youtube.com/wehaveissuespodcast. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/group/wehaveissuespodcast. We're on Twitter at twitter.com/wehaveissuespod. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter, TikTok. We're all put all the links all below. Just like, subscribe. We love you. We need your grandmas. We need your grandpas. You know what else we need, Steven?
We need parents.
We need parents, Steven. We're parents. We love parents. We want all your parents. We want you. If you're a parent and you haven't subscribed, just please subscribe. We love you.
Here's what happened with the initial grandparent seeking. Is for some reason, like, we have this thing where we're stuck in our heads that our grandparents are 50 or 60. I mean, mine are dead, but like, for some reason they never age past like once how you've immortalized them in your brain. So I'm thinking like, man, we need a bunch of 50 and 60 year olds. But then like, lo and behold, our parents are 50 and 60 year olds. So we actually need your parents, like your 40 to 60 year old parents, who is, it's our real demographic. If
That's
I'm
right.
real. That's who we're
at. You want your, speaking of, I went out, the amazing human that I met and I went out with, and like we have this. She introduced our podcast to her parents,
and which is
so far. Her dad sounds really cool, by the way. I'm always nervous about parents in general because that could go wrong. You know, like it could be. It's very nervous. Anyway, we're at the end of this thing. I don't want to get too into it. Her dad sounds cool. I'll talk about that in the future. I love you all. Thank you so much for listening to We Have Issues. I'm Anthony.
I'm Stevie Wildcard.
And we'll see you next week. Thank you so much. For your mouse? All right, go ahead. Come here, give me a kiss.
It's a little bit hard.
But you figured it out? You got the USB in? All right, say goodnight, Steven.
What's it called?
A USB.
I like to call it USB.
Good job.
UB.
All right,
I
go.
like to call it that. The UB.
The UB. The
For
UB.
short.
Yeah, the USUB. The USUB.
The UB.
Yeah, I love you. I gave him a USB mouse for his laptop. He should be sleeping, but I guess he's learning how to plug in a USB mouse.
He likes to call them UBs.
He likes to call them UBs. He's such a freaking nerd.
The flap or the river or the the flap or the river or the
I stalked her Instagram. I was like, I'm gonna look at all these pictures and see. There are no pictures of her face, Steven.